Supreme Lord, eternal truth, let us obey thee alone and live according to truth. Paramocha Prabhu Satyam Nityatvamev Kevalam Anuvartamahe Satyam Anujeevam Kevalam Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Namaste, good morning, Vande Mataram, welcome all of you. The topic of this great morning's discussion will be on human relationships in yoga. Very interesting topic, very exciting topic. Of course, we must know the inner truth who is pursuing this integral yoga. In many ways, or in some ways, we are having related in we are staying in the society, we are social beings, we are having some human relationship. But so far this integral yoga and this path is concerned, of course, we must know the steps, the truth, the hidden truth, of course, behind this method, as methodized by Sri Aurobindo and Mother. Of course, today we will discuss everything from the Sri Aurobindo's writings, philosophy of Sri Aurobindo. We will discuss on human relationship in yoga. Sri Aurobindo quotes initially, personal relation is not a part of the yoga. Very clear warnings, very clear tones Sri Aurobindo has clarified. Personal relation is not a part of the yoga. When one has the union with the divine, then only can there be the true spiritual relation with others. Only centering around the divine, only divine, wherever the only thing in spiritual life is the divine, and to be centered around the divine, to live for the divine, the goal is divine, and the middle path is the beginning, end, middle, everything is divine. Then Sri Aurobindo quotes again here, very interestingly, the old yoga demanded a complete renunciation of the extending to the giving of the worldly life itself. This was the principle of old yoga, to give up the worldly life itself. This yoga means this integral yoga, this supramental yoga, what we are going to pursue, what we are really pursuing, Sri Aurobindo quotes here. This yoga aims instead of a new and a transformed, instead at a new and a transformed life. This is the basic difference between this old yoga and this our integral yoga. But it insists on inexorably on a complete throwing away of desire and attachment in the mind, life, and the body. The aim, so nothing to be considered to be retained of the mind and vital and physical. So its aim is to refound life in the truth of the spirit. For that purpose, to transfer the roots of all we are, and to do from the mind, life, and vital to a greater consciousness above the mind. We have to rise up to that greater consciousness that is unreachable to the mind, that is of course it is above mind. That means in the new life, all the connections must be founded on a spiritual intimacy and a quiet truth other than any which supports our present connection. That present connection must be disconnected. There is no relation. We have to go further, go beyond the mind to have connection with the higher consciousness. Only divine is our goal. So divine, divine, divine. Only we are centering and moving around the divine. One must be prepared to renounce the higher call. Renounce at the higher call what are spoken of the natural affections. So this old method, this connection, these old affections must be extirpated. So even if they are kept at all, it is only with a change which transform them altogether. So even if it is there, if it was rejected, then must be transformed. This is the precondition. This is the most requisite. But whether they are to be renounced or kept and changed must be decided not by the personal desires but by the truth above. The truth above, who has to decide, he has to descend, it has to decide whether it has to be rejected, transformed, or kept. But in end of the day, this higher truth has to come, it has to transform. This is the only situation. All must be given up to the Supreme Master of the yoga. This is the only method, and there is no other goal. The power that works in this yoga is a through-going character and tolerates in the end nothing great or small that is an obstacle to the truth and realization. That truth, only truth, that is the nothing. Next, here in the course, the idea that all sadhakas must be aloof from each other. They must stay away, they must be kept away from each other, aloofness from each other. And that that daggers drawn to itself in a preconceived idea that must be abandoned. So this is not the yoga as the world, the strict principles, that the philosophy, that mentality is not there. Harmony, not strife, is the law of yogic living. With so beautiful line, that beautiful quotation as quoted by Sri Aurobindo, harmony, not strife, is the law of yogic living. This is preconceived idea arises perhaps from the old notions of nirvana at its aim, but nirvana is not the aim here. Sri Aurobindo quotes and clarifies nirvana is not the aim here. The aim, then what is the, if nirvana is not the aim, then what is the aim? Sri Aurobindo quotes here the fulfillment of the divine in life, and for that union and solidarity and are indispensable. For that in divine fulfillment of the divine in life, that is the aim. For that union and solidarity are indispensable. The letters here in the quotes, of course, very interestingly, very good terms here in the quotes here. Absence of love and fellow feeling is are not necessary for nearness to the divine. Very clear letter, very bold lines, bold message Sri Aurobindo has given here. Absence of love and fellow feeling are not necessary for the nearness to the divine. On the contrary, sense of closeness and oneness with others is a part of the divine consciousness into which sadhaka enters by nearness to the divine, and the feeling of oneness with the divine, that is there, that closeness and oneness with others, that is required. But thing is that that consciousness should be there, and a divine feeling must be there, and a divine must be centered. So an entire rejection of all relation is indeed the final aim of mayavadin. Entire rejection of all relation, human relation, nothing, they are that is the object of this mayavadin. And in the ascetic yoga, an entire loss of the all relation of friendship and affection and attachment to the world and its living beings would be regarded as a promising sign of advance towards the liberation, mukhya. What is there, the mayavadi, that mukhyavadi? For that it is required that rejection, renunciation, these are the things required. But even there, I think, see in the course, the feeling of oneness and unattached spiritual sympathy for all, at least a penultimate stage, like the compassion of the Buddhist, before turning to the moksha and nirvana, which is not our goal. In this yoga, Sri Aurobindo clarifies, here which we are pursuing this integral yoga, the feeling of unity with others, love, universal joy and ananda are the essential part of the liberation and perfection, which are the aim of sadhana. Again, I will try to quote the aim of sadhana in this integral process is the, what is the universal, very interesting, feeling of unity with others. Love, universal joy, and ananda are the essential part of liberation and perfection, which are the aim of this sadhana. So again, Sri Aurobindo tries to clarify. On the other hand, human society, human friendship, love, affection, fellow feeling are mostly and usually, not entirely or in all cases, founded upon the vital basis or ego held at their center. Not all, something may be there, or most of the things there, but not in all cases. There are vital basis or love. So, Sri Aurobindo quotes very interestingly, the thing is that there are also other and still more selfish motives that mix with the essential motives. There are, of course, higher spiritual, psychic, mental, vital elements that come in and can come in, but the whole thing is mere very mixed and at the best. So it should not be mixed. It should be pure. It should be clarified. It should be have some greater thing. So Sri Aurobindo again tries to explain here, try to confirm here. Therefore, Don't be discouraged, wait upon the purifying movement of the Shiva. So, Shiva, we know the Lord of Transformation already is as quoted by Sri Aurobindo. So, we must, for the spiritual destiny, since it's not consonant with your Swabhava, that is made for joy, largeness, expansion, a compensative movement of the life force. For that, the grace of the purifying movement of the Shiva is actually necessary. So, like sannyasi, the vital and its life powers to be a thing to be condemned and rejected in the every nature, like sannyasi. So, it is required, it is there, but here in the quotes about the affection and the love and the tenderness. Affection, love, and tenderness are in the very nature, in the nature psychic. The vital has them because the psychic is trying to express itself through the vital. So everywhere there is the touch of psychic. It is through the emotional being that the psychic most easily expressed, for it stands just behind in the heart center. But it wants in these things to be pure. That is the purity is the condition. Not that it rejects the outward expression through the vital and the physical, but the psychic being is in the form of the soul, it naturally feels the attraction of the soul to all and union of the soul with the soul as the things really that are the most abiding and concrete. Very interesting way it is there because psychic comes to the fore. It has the transforming power. It has a great role to fill. So entire thing is centered over the over this psychic. See in the quotes again, very interestingly, all realization of the divine is the inner realization. Recently, we were discussing the topic on realization and experience. Here in the quotes here again, all realization of the divine is an inner realization. Only here the soul offers itself through the emotional being. The soul or psychic being is not something unheard of or incomprehensible. Then we'll skip little bit and follow very interesting message. We'll see to want unwaveringly the welfare of another, both in the head and in the heart, is the best help one can give. To want unwaveringly the welfare of another, both in the head and the heart, it is the best help someone can give. There are two possible attitudes in the matter and has something to be said of it. So these are the unions one siddhi first, because until one's own siddhi is complete, the help one can give is always a little doubtful and imperfect. So when somebody is offering help or getting help, the thing is that siddhi is the considerable factor. Secondly, there is the danger so often emphasized by the experienced yogis of taking on oneself the difficulties of those who helps. But of all these are same to the weight perfection is not always possible. So this perfection, this siddhi are the counting factors. Of course, it is disadvantage of helping others that one comes into the contact with their consciousness and their difficulties and to get more externalized. So thing is that already this is the yoga, it is the inner thing. That mixing with people, laughing, joking, etc., is a kind of vital expansiveness. It is everything is vital, not the vital strength. This expressiveness is also expressive. For when there is a mixing, the vital strong get strength from it, but the vital weak expand what strength they have and becomes weaker. This is the position we must see before mixing with the people. Then it is quite possible for one person to get depressed by talking with another. These are the problems, these are the criteria. So again, before concluding, it is quite possible that he pulls the vital energy, unconsciously pulls actually, and as he the vitally weak, and the people are vitally weak, so that unconsciously automatically they get pulled.